Hey yo, wanna do a video? Yes! Stick around to the end for a special challenge to the Earthknights community! I got a topic for you. What happens if we take an Earthknights character, create their doppelganger, and put him in our world? As in... we take a look and try to piece together what upbringing and life experiences creates a doppelganger close to their terra counterparts. Neato. Nice. The topic of today's video, dun 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 dun, Proviso. I went back and forth on a few characters, but Casimiris is interesting. From Dash's perspective. Yes, that is how it's spelled. No, really.
Hello, my name is Dash.
Well, off we go! We got a machine to make! But what about part 1? I'll just do it. We know her as Rhodes Island legal consultant, but to put it simply, Rhodes a lawyer and a pretty damn good one. Now her record as a corporate lawyer is certainly impressive. Dash trained under the wise guidance of a tricky and renowned Casimiris lawyer. Dash herself valiantly and courageously decided to fight for some of the evilest mofos this side of Casimiris. Come on, were you expecting something happy from Earthknights? Okay, yeah, so a corporate lawyer. So notorious in fact that her own file essentially says, this girl's record is mad evil, but I'm glad she's on our side. So our affectionately called host lawyer. Going from defending the power brokers of Casimiris who organize breaking lies for a living. Lots of text incoming. You do not need to read it, but if you want to, pause. Yeah. Many times even. Yikes. Oh my gosh, you okay? To go wake her up later. Anyways, point is, rather than a really rich job, she instead joins Rhodes Island. So let's move the clock as we explore what makes this horse tick. Let's start with a few traits we see in her Terra version, and what we need to replicate in her Earth version. Competitive. Often likens court cases as a means to win over another. Now being clear, competitive being the mindset that the point is to win, not just succeed. Winning itself becomes the measure of success. Proud. I don't think I need to explain this one.
What?
Go on, says the queen. Categorized morality. Uses clear sets instead of a more rigid universal morality or a more dynamically constructed morality. For example, a person can absolutely detest killing. They could be complete pacifists but still kill as parts of the military. It's okay when in uniform and not when out. Creative, not artistically, but rather she often uses tricks. This requires a mind that is used to looking at things in different angles. Or to put it another way, out of the box thinking. Studious. She's a lawyer, I don't need to explain this one. Name me 100 smart lawyers, I am sure you'll get bookworms and at least 99 of them. These traits are going to be relevant for this video and is by no means an exhaustive list. Trust me, there's a lot. In fact, if you do want to learn more, there's an excellent video in the cards, top right, and in the description below. Now, as important as the big 5 are to this video, I'm not going into details and frankly, I'm not even using official traits. I made up a few. It's what I think is accurate to Proviso and words that are self-explanatory. Seriously though, if you want to learn more about this topic, it's a fascinating topic and I highly recommend checking the video in the cards. It's by an actual professor who does a really good dive. Highly recommend it. Rather for Dash, it's as important to thoroughly break down the environment so we can understand the culture she finds herself in. Now these two, because they're obvious, everyone knows her as smug and she is a lawyer. Studying is a major part of her job, so that's obvious. But it does point to something that I think we should keep in mind. Just framing it all as we explore. Remember, Dash is very sure of herself. High confidence.
The courtroom is a place of victory and defeat. Both sides submit their evidence, and their disputes are arbitrated within the confines of the law. I never expected to find any justice in that process.
Dash started out as all lawyers do, a student. She worked her way through the grades and impressed her teachers, even managing to get the attention of the person she highly respected. Quite the accomplishment. A beautiful first win. The case of a high-ranking executive embezzling funds. Indeed, her first foray into the world of law was quite impressive. Haha, but new evidence appears. My client is innocent because it was the secretary that was dastardly blinded by greed. That's a lie. While the file doesn't go into exhaustive detail, it does say that the counterproof was written in the accused's own blood. Now that's quite the commitment. Suffice to say, they did not survive. Point is that the evidence was, of course, fake. Was a recording of what? Well, I don't know, but it was impressive enough for a slam-dunk case. So either faked or misleadingly presented, since at the end of the day, if it was so strong, how can the case even be so easily disproven later? Personally, I'm leaning on fake. If it was presented before the trial, assuming their law is anything like ours, it would have to go through a process to check its authenticity. I mean, obviously, you gotta check if it's even real. That's actually often done by the opposing side. By both sides presenting openly what their evidence is, both sides can keep each other honest. What could possibly be a better way to prove what you have is right than the other side failing to disprove it? In fact, bypassing this process altogether in our courts would be incredibly illegal. You can't just throw whatever in there. Then anyone can throw whatever fake-ass piece of evidence they want. I mean, think about it for a second. You're a lawyer, you're presenting your case, and then all of a sudden, some new evidence rushes in. You have no time to disprove that. It is essentially, just trust me bro, no legal system that on any level cares about any amount of truth would ever allow this. Can you just imagine how bad a legal system would have to be if it's entirely based on, just trust me bro? If anything, it's shocking the judge didn't throw this out for contempt. Well, unless, yeah, the judge might have just been corrupt. After he was proven innocent, Dash suggested that the case be retried, and I quote, "But a mentor simply sat behind the desk, looked at her coldly, without saying a word." This is a very direct, filled with contempt. Don't get in my way. You should know better.
Law. I never expected to find any justice in that process, but when the law can be freely trampled on by capitalism, being a lawyer gets real boring, don't you think?
Now, Dash backed out, but that makes sense. Her mentor, the person she respected and looked up to, just trampled her very notion of justice. But remember, the thing I asked you to keep in mind, Dash is very sure of herself. People generally aren't good at critically analyzing, and there's a good reason. Cognitive dissonance. To those who don't know what it means, cognitive dissonance occurs when a person's behavior and beliefs do not complement each other, or when they hold two contradictory beliefs. It causes a feeling of discomfort that can motivate people to try to feel better. People may do this via defense mechanisms such as avoidance. This is very, very, very common. That feeling of discomfort can even be as intense as causing headaches or even nausea in rare cases, due to a stress response triggered by the cognitive dissonance. It is something that we all deal with, and it is something that affects all of us from a very early age. It is part of human nature. In fact, quick side notes, in the cards, in the description, a video that goes over this very well. This means that everyone experiences cognitive dissonance before they're even old enough for it to be even possible for them to have an idea of what it is. To our young minds, it's easier to just avoid the feeling, and to our adult minds, it's already too late. We will have lived a life in avoidance. It becomes second nature. Our beliefs, our wants, our likes is so much of us. It's just easier to just not question that which denies us, to avoid. It takes an active effort to fight and eventually overcome this nature, to form a habit of disregarding that feeling. Well, for most people, it's easier to just not. You don't feel hurt if you just avoid that feeling. I mean, that's not true, but it is easy. Most people just take the easy option. You don't even have to put effort, you just have to keep doing what you're doing. For example, what do you feel when someone you know says they hate a thing you like? Reactions may vary, but the core is still the same. It's uncomfortable, right? So it makes sense for Desh to back down. It's a lot of pressure. She would have to give up on her very future, the respect of her mentor, and effectively shoot herself in the foot. Desh would have been little more than a grad student, going up against one of the most renowned lawyers of Casimirs, who gave her a leg up. She wouldn't be seen as anything but ungrateful. It's just so much easier to just keep walking the same path. That's just human. Quick side clarification. While this does apply to all beliefs, when it comes to Desh, her sense of justice is a core belief. That is why I've been explaining in a more intense way. For comparison, try arguing religion. You'll see what I mean real quick. To explain, think of a small swamp in a rainforest. A dozen trees growing their roots into the swamp. To an outsider pointing in, this is a wall of interlocking brain connections, incredibly tough to get through. Now if you try some spearfishing, then grabbing a fish on the surface isn't comparatively hard. However, core belief is at the very bottom of the swamp. Trying to grab a fish from the very bottom is practically impossible. You'd have to dig through years of roots growing in. These are the justifications we make in our minds for these core beliefs. Doesn't matter how half-baked or poorly thought out these justifications are, they're there and they will get in the way of trying to get to the bottom. But for the fish of the swamp, that's just their environment. They can swim through it just fine. No matter how half-baked, no matter how unrealistic or how much magical thought is needed for these justifications, it doesn't matter. To the fish that live in the swamp, it's just natural. The water is natural, just as the air we breathe is natural. To the roots in our mind, it is just as natural as water is to fish, as air is to humans. But she also just can't ignore it completely. Reality is staring her down. She still has to wrap up the case, even though her feelings are betrayed. So, she wins the case, but sends the hush money so the family should just deny justice. Is this really righting wrong? No, the life that family lost is never coming back. But a good deed, that's just the least amount of trouble. It's not really about doing good, it's an excuse to move on. It is easy for her to just keep following the path she was already on, but she also couldn't just deny the reality that's happening. So, how does a person still answer this important question? Am I still a good person?
Are we the baddies?
Well, here's a few ways to answer that. 1. Ignore it, or even excuse it. But they were going to be denied regardless. At least this way they get something to survive on. 2. Argue it, perhaps even deny it. They lost in court, so they must not have been innocent, else the law would have sorted things out fairly. Look, it doesn't have to make sense. It's just an excuse to provide any amount of comfort. And finally, 3. Shifting. That, no, you are the villain, that you were in the wrong. But it's not that bad, okay? Was it really that bad? No, I gave her the money. I did what I could. She owes me nothing. It's good. I did a good deed in paying. I know it sounds desperate, but do understand. This moment would have been a ton of bricks on her head. She had to cope with it somehow. She had to answer the question, am I still a good person? Now, it's not really a choice. Likely all these thoughts and beyond ran through her head. But let's shift perspectives a little bit. Let's suppose there's a person that goes around randomly punching people. They could ignore the problem, punching is wrong and I shouldn't, but I'll just be more careful and not repeating my mistake. They could argue it. Well, look here, I'm just swinging my fists around. Can you not see me walking down the street gallantly swinging my fists? They could shift the blame. Well, you shouldn't even be near me. I'm trying to walk here. I'm just swinging my fist around. Get off. Keep some space. Well, if a person keeps doing it, then option 1 is miserable. They keep doing it, constantly feeling bad all the time, but it never stops. Option 2 at least allows them in their mind to keep going, but leaves space for others to point out, bruh, you're an asshole. But option 3, I'm not the problem, you are? You don't have to change at all. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to feel bad. It's not your problem. It's not your fault. It's the other people. Now that excuse, that lets a person feel just. They can't be the asshole because everyone else is. If you ever see how soulless a creative manager is, or how seemingly hollow a politician is, or how a narcissist never understands what they're doing, it's because this all turns into a sort of game. Now, bear with me, I can explain. So let's say you're looking to hire for an important job position. Trust me, I'm going somewhere with this. Would you prefer someone good at their job? Someone who's excellent skill with tons of experience? Makes sense, right? You want someone who's really good. No, wrong. What kind of person do you think we're talking about here? Look, getting the job done is fine and all, but there is something more important. You want someone who doesn't cause trouble. That makes it part of the job description. Keep suffering going, keep the game alive, and whatever you do, just don't be a drag, man. Don't get in my way. You should know better. Let's be real. A person can be a 4-time Nobel Prize winner, but if they shut down, if they refuse to do the job, and then run out with all the dirty laundry, then what? What you want is someone that'll kill their morality so they can do their damn job. Now you see the people hiring and the leaders above them are actually doing the same. Keep it all a game, space where it is easy to just accept the suffering as a fact of life to avoid the cognitive dissonance of,
Are we the baddies?
life must be boiled down into simplistic language. Things have to be simple. And at that point, anyone questioning is just an enemy. Because at that point, you're not on the right team, buddy. If you're not declaring you're my friend, you're declaring you're my enemy. Otherwise known as an us versus them mentality. Here, look here, I know it's messed up, but we gotta take care of our own. After all, if we don't, how are we supposed to survive? Spoilers for chapter 7. If you don't care for that, tab until you hear my voice again. It's easier to just excuse suffering.
いたぞ！一瞬の躊躇が戦局を左右する。自分が背負っている責任の重さがまだわからないのか。これが私たちの結末だ。
When going along with the flow, you barely even make a choice. You just follow the flow of emotion. You just do it. You don't even make a choice. You just follow. Justifications can be for after the deed is done. You gotta find a way to let your ego survive. That is the culture Dish is in. There is no room for morals. It's all just a vibe check. That's all it can be.
そっくりね、そういうところ。
帰るならこの子も他の人たちもみんな一緒。
みんな同じ。私も。
Now I want to be clear. This was a rant on the extreme ends of this practice. It's relevant to Proviso because it describes the environment she's in. But if you think, oh come on, but the world is simple, it really isn't. I mean, think about it for a second. No two humans are the same, so why would systems of so many people be only simple? You likely don't have the same senses or anywhere near the extreme end of what I've been saying. But you are engaging in the practice. The very definition of simplifying is to cut away complexity. That also cuts away nuance until all you have left is simplistic and quick intuition. From the excellent CPG Grey video, there is almost a law in the universe that solutions that are the first thing you think of and look sensible and are easy to implement are often terrible, ineffective solutions. Once implemented, will drag on civilization forever. Just a side note, I love how the ands show this within the very sentence itself. Moving on, Desh does this too. In order to cope with what she has to do, she has to cut away the nuance of the morality. But why? Desh didn't have to. No, Desh had to simplify in order to survive. Not because it's right or wrong, but because that's what the culture forced her to do. Just an important side note. While this does definitely apply to Desh, maybe this doesn't apply to you. But if you think it cannot apply to you, then it probably does. We are all affected by cognitive dissonance. You are no exception, and if you truly think you are the exception, it just means you don't realize how it's affecting you. So we understand the people who shaped Desh in her adult life and the pressure she had when she says,
I'm slowly starting to understand that expecting the law to be able to judge all disputes fairly isn't just naive, it's intellectually lazy. The law is not perfect, and it will always be riddled with holes that we need to fill with humanity.
Now, she calls it intellectually lazy, she is right, but I do also think it's survival. However, now that she is at Rhodes, she has a place that can truly accept her ideals so she can explore what they mean. But to explore what those ideals meant back then, it would simply place a target on her back. Let's step on her mind for a second, and then choose ruin or success. It takes courage to realize that's not ruin, it's integrity. Though to be clear, it would have also been ruin. So, winding back the clock a bit, she not only survived, but she picked up quite a few tips and tricks. By all accounts, Desh is a very tricky person. Given what she's been through, that's not surprising. After a round of mediation, the self-satisfied client leans back into the sofa, swirls the wine in his glass, and asks the lawyer in front of him, Miss Desh, with someone like you on our side, it's like the law is our own personal protective talisman. He waits for a compliment. Well, maybe you should off that direct and take over the company then. You aren't going to tell me you don't have the heart to, are you? You just swallowed an entire business, and I'm sure we'll be seeing the shriveled faces of plenty of bankrupt executives on the news tomorrow. The client is flabbergasted. What I'm saying is the law ensures that this is the best you can manage. Desh swirls the wine in a glass as well. Perhaps this might offend you, but at the very least, you have to take into consideration that the law exists, no? This way, at least their lawyers can earn them some damages for them to survive on. The law helps you win, it keeps them alive, and the worst case scenario doesn't come to pass. What's more, I make loads of money every step of the way. These accounts show something. She never let go of that resentment. Heck, let's just consider that lost entry for a second. She is encouraging the person she is with to wage war. This isn't a person who cares whether or not the people in front of her goes down or not. But despite all that resentment, she does love the competitive elements of it all. She loves the battle of wits. But
Choose, young Desh. Be the silenced, or the silencer. Foolish, you choose neither. You are not the first or the last. How long before you fall from your high fence? How long shall your heart last?
All of it is tainted by a foul stench. In the entry we read, you've heard how callously these executives disregard the very notion of justice itself. It's like playing a competitive game with the cheats on, their own protective talisman. There is no justice if someone is above the law. I mean, sure, it's our survival, but what? What is this for? She had just won a case for a certain executive and received a huge sum of money for her services. She knew she had seen plenty of things she shouldn't have, and her payment was greater than previously agreed on. In other words, she was being paid to keep her mouth shut, and she had assured her discretion. However, after celebrating at a pub, and despite the security features installed in her home, she returned to a torn business suit hung from the ceiling. She panicked, but also felt a bit of relief, as it meant this was as far as executive threat went. At the very least, it was the clothes hanging from her ceiling, not her. Surviving for what? To be on the edge? Sure, it's nice to win, but for who? People holding a sword above your head? Is that even a choice? Again, who are you winning for? People who would easily discard others to sate their own egos? What's the purpose? What's the damn point? Operator Proviso provided detailed answers to all our questions. She assured us that her previous affairs had been wrapped up and would not create a conflict of interest. In addition, she mentioned she was very interested in our actions during the Major. That is also the reason she chose to join Rhodes Island. It seemed to be a company that was actually trying to do good. She chose to give up her old job because, as she puts it, she saw the stars. Now at first glance before this video, you'd be forgiven for thinking that Gesh was just brash, reckless, and smug. Okay, one of those is true.
What? Doctor, when you work out your business plans, feel free to put off the legal ramifications till the very end. I've never lost a case as a defense attorney.
Question is, why? What, for a mere fancy? Cause Rhodes is just that damn schmexy? Obviously not, it's not recklessness. This isn't an out-of-the-blue, spur-of-the-moment decision, else Desh would have lost at least a few of her cases. She just isn't that reckless. Reckless action leads to loss eventually, that's just what risks are, and yet Desh has an impressive, unbroken win streak. This can only mean one of two things. Either all her opponents were absolute pushovers, which, no, I just don't see that. Yes, she has the resources, connections, bribes, and backing to make them layups, but that's not the fault of the other lawyers, or even Desh. What it means to always win in any system? Remove any and all possible risk, with whatever advantage you can find. Even with all that advantage, being uncautious would have made her slip up somewhere. Now, to be clear, one interpretation of she saw the stars is obvious. The massive light bulb that is Margaret Nurl. But I don't think so. We're talking about a very accomplished lawyer here. She would have done her research. It's literally her job. Is it because Rhodes Island are just dashing rogues? No! Slamming X to doubts!
Doctor, I think there are a lot of problems with the medical malpractice liability clauses in Rhodes Island's contracts. In most countries, we as a medical company wouldn't be liable for a lot of the scenarios listed in there. You don't want to fix it? Alright, I'll give it some more thought.
Hey, take a closer look at these lawsuits. This one had news break out a couple years ago about them abusing their infected employees. This one once fired a huge number of company veterans. And this one, I have proof they covered up their workers' deaths. To dash her enormous companies that try to look nice and maybe do some token good deeds, but are ultimately rotten at their very cores. Look, she wouldn't just trust Rhodes Island's records. No, what she saw was Rhodes and Elle standing up to some of the biggest names in the game to put everything on the line for an ideal, an action she could not do when she was younger, but something she always wanted to do. What inspires people? Is it feats of greatness, or is it a desire to be great?
If you're letting me read these high clearance level materials, this is going way beyond a normal partnership, isn't it? Thanks for your trust, Doctor. I hope I'll be able to accomplish with the law what I never could before I came here.
This act was so meaningful, so profound, that it likely reached into the very core of her heart. And with that, Rhodes' record would have shined ever so bright. It would have been the star the heroics young Desh actually looked up to. It's so nice to see a plucky protag finding her place in a harsh world. Will she find that on Earth as well? That will actually not be answered in this video. Sorry, but have you seen the runtime of this video? I'm already pushing on people's attention spans. But wait, challenge incoming!
I have a challenge for the Earthknights community. I call it Tier Up Challenge. The rules aren't too complicated. There are core rules that I'll get to in a second, and difficulty rules I'll timestamp for convenience. Starting off, core rules. Number 1. Start 0-1 with a single robot. Number 2. The end goal is to beat JT8-3. That is, if you can manage the heat. Number 3. Only a 3-star result counts as a completed stage. 0 sanity stages and CM modes are to be skipped over because they would give too much power way too quickly. Once you have beaten a stage, you will have some choices, but that is for the difficulty section. Note, just so you know, you may only choose once per stage. Lastly, H stages are optional. For the rules, they do not count as red stages and can be done anytime in any chapter, so it is completely in the rules to do them all right before JT8-3. And finally, number 4. You cannot change your operators once a choice is made. However, choices are only final when you complete a stage. So, whatever you choose, you can change, but when you beat that stage, it is final, locked in stone. Now, with the core rules established, we have the choices to go over. Each difficulty will be its own set of rules, so I will be repeating myself a lot. So, quality of life, here are the timestamps so you can skip to portions you feel meets your skill level. For the casual difficulty, your choices are: Number 1. Recruit. Place a single 1-star operator. Number 2. Promote. Choose to instead skip this choice. The next choice becomes only remove 1 operator, recruit 1 operator of the next rarity higher than the removed operator. Important! You cannot choose an Elite 2 operator. Quick tip: set the name of the squad to keep track. Number 3. Combine. Remove 2 operators of the same rarity. Recruit 1 Elite 2 operator of a next higher rarity. For example, 2 4-stars for 1 E2 5-star. Number 4. Special promote. If the previous stage was a red stage, do a promote choice. You do not need to skip, and this does not remove regular stage choice, as this is considered an extra reward. I suspect this will be incredibly easy for people who perhaps like to play on easy, but for those who perhaps would rather spice things up, optional nastier challenge. When an operator is defeated after this stage, the motion. Remove that operator, recruit one operator from the next lower rarity and of the same elite status. However, if they are a 4-star, you must recruit a 3-star. Elite 2 status is lost. Protect your operators. For the standard difficulty, number 1, recruit a single 1-star operator. Number 2, promote. Choose to instead skip this choice. The next choice becomes only remove one operator, recruit one operator of the next rarity higher than the removed operator. Important, you cannot choose an Elite 2 operator. Quick tip, set the name of the squad to keep track. Number 3, combine. Remove 2 operators of the same rarity. Recruit one Elite 2 operator of the same rarity. Or remove 2 operators of the same rarity and a 3-star operator. Recruit one Elite 2 operator of a higher rarity than the 2 removed. For example, 2 4-stars for an Elite 2 4-star or 2 4-stars and a 3-star for an Elite 2 5-star. Number 4, special promote. If the previous stage is the final stage of the chapter, then do a promote choice. You do not need to skip, and this does not remove regular stage choice, as this is considered an extra reward. This difficulty is still some challenge while not being overly hard, although if you think you are hot stuff, then try taking out 4. It's doable, but in my own testing, I was only able to recruit a single 6-star for Tallulah. Tal ain't gonna let it be easy, let me tell you. For the elite difficulty, number 1, recruit a single 1-star operator. Number 2, promote. Choose to instead skip this choice. The next choice becomes only remove one operator, recruit one operator of the next rarity higher than the removed operator. Important, you cannot choose an Elite 2 operator. Quick tip, set the name of the squad to keep track. Number 3, remove 2 operators of the same rarity. Recruit one Elite 2 operator of the same rarity. Or remove 2 operators of the same rarity and a 3-star operator. Recruit one Elite 2 operator of a higher rarity than the 2 removed. For example, 2 4-stars for an Elite 2 4-star or 2 4-stars and a 3-star for an Elite 2 5-star. Number 4, the motion. If the previous stage is a red stage, then the only choice becomes remove one operator from the highest rarity and highest elite status. Recruit one operator from a lower rarity. You cannot choose an Elite 2 operator. And finally, number 5, special recruit. Upon completing a chapter, you may add one robot to the squad. This is considered an extra reward. Now, this difficulty I have not tested. I think it's doable, as I think it's possible to get a full 4-star squad. The optimal strategy being to recruit and sacrificial 6-star. The cost of recovering an E1 is 2 stages, but the cost of recovering is very high. So yes, a E2 6-star would be quite the power-up, but damn are you paying a steep price. Now, welcome back to all these skippers to the final word. Now, some of you might be thinking, well then, it's 22 stages for a 6-star, I'll just do that early, right? Good luck. Unless you're on casual, you still need forces to do a stage, and with each skip, you're not adding to your firepower. Every stage you can do with the absolute minimum gets you more power, but if you're on elite difficulty, just forget about it. Here are a few ops for suggestion I found in my own testing. Number 1, Deep Color. She is the only vanguard you need, being able to get a rather decent unit out for the price of a robot. Plus ADP is already well within a lot of vanguard ranges. She is incredibly useful. Number 2, Damage. Damage is always going to be useful, but with enough damage you can cheap out on healing or defense. If the enemy is dead, they cannot damage you, but be careful. The real damage numbers don't come until E2, so good luck on the balance. Do you need more operators for the next stage, or invest for future stages? Number 3, Slowers. Ethan and Orchid especially. Blocking enemies means taking damage, and damage means healing. That's resources dedicated to something, not damage. But with good slowers, the enemy just ain't hitting it. You're too slow, bro. Now then, it was an interesting challenge, so let's end this with a challenge to you, the Earthknights community. Defeat elite level difficulty. I dare you.
Okay, bye.
Great voice done by a fun-to-watch YouTuber here for the introduction.
Alright everybody, hello and welcome to this after section to the video, I guess. Crystal here asked me to do a quick little self-introduction of who I am, considering I was the voiceover for the video. So Crystal, thank you very much for allowing me to do so. And yeah, let's get on with it, shall we? So first off, I am Jacob Moreau. I have a YouTube channel here on YouTube, of course, and you can find probably the link in the description of the video. Hopefully Crystal will not forget. Thank you, by the way. And yeah, what do I do on my channel? I basically do 3 major categories, I would say at least. Number 1 would be I do voiceovers for Earthknights. Pretty much the entirety of the game when it comes to main story or side stories has been voiceover and also amateur-wise, but still voice acted by me on the channel. So if you ever wanted to just sit back, relax and listen to any of the Earthknight stories, you can do that very leisurely on my channel. I also provide commentary, recaps at the beginning of episodes, and also I yap about the story when I'm done completely with the story at the final episodes of each of the side stories or each of the chapters that are available for the main story. I'm also a veteran of the game, been playing since day 1, so you know, I've been around. You can also find every single operator record on my channel. I also do Let's Plays for various games, mostly story-driven games like RPGs. I would say most are RPGs, at least so far. Could change in the future. I only recently got into the Let's Play format, and I also stream on my channel. Streams are, again, mostly for story-driven games, but also for the integrated strategy modes for Earthknights, and some other stuff from time to time. So, if you want to check out the channel, links are provided in the description of the video that Crystal provided, I hope. Sorry, I'm joking about it, but thank you very much once again, Crystal. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and see you in the future in something else maybe. Who knows? Or on my home turf. But until then, bye-bye.
If anyone here is looking to experience the story, then I highly recommend checking out his channel. Other notable shoutout is Champion Analysis. Their videos are incredible. If you're even remotely interested in psychology, check him out. And if you haven't heard of CPG Grey, how? Check him out. And of course, Legal Ego for insightful law analysis. As well, I'll be uploading the full JTA3-clear with a full explanation. But that's where I go. Oh. The machine reads at work. Now, go get the backpack.